Nowhere else can you find so miscellaneous, so various an amount of knowledge as is contained in these few pieces of paper, newspaper. But considering how usual it has become in our lives, we often underestimate the vast potential that it has. So in today's video, I'll let you know how to harness the power of newspapers. Or to be more precise, how to effectively read newspapers. So please watch this video till the end. First and foremost, be it a working professional or a student, we have time constraints, right? We cannot go about reading a newspaper for like 3, 4, or 5 hours. We have to cut that down. We have to filter it out. Now, how do we do that? First, do not cover the regional news, especially those who focus upon those sensationalized crime reports. That is of no use. Secondly, you can find relevance of a certain specific news as per your respective fields. For example, if you're working in a corporate, Business Insider is something that might interest you most. You can obviously read about other stuff, but that is how you prioritize, especially when you have time constraint. Secondly, the most important that I personally follow, do not skip editorial section. That is the page that renders you a lot of things, like be it the Hindu, be it the Times of India. I personally read Times of India. You can be reading any newspaper, but do not skip editorial section. Let me tell you why. First, it has a very strong language, vocabulary, and so many other things that might be helpful for you. Second, it is written by a set of people who are very experienced in their fields. It is written by economic advisors, historians, writers. So somebody who's very experienced. So reading those articles might really help you in forming a perspective about different topics, right? Thirdly, like be it any topic, be it abrogation of Article 370, Farm Bill, if you religiously follow editorial section, in a time span of 10 or 20 days or a month, you'll find many articles, like hundreds of articles written on the same topic. So in this way, you can form a well-rounded and an unbiased perspective on any topic. Just like how we churn the butter out of milk. You can read so many perspectives, you can read so many viewpoints of different people around, and you can form an unbiased, well-rounded perspective in the end. Now, one thing that we need to ensure before reading editorial is that we all have political ideologies, right? We all have political affiliations, different viewpoints, and biased perspectives we have, right? But before reading editorial, we need to ensure that we flush out all those indoctrinations, biased viewpoints that we have. And with a clear mind, we read the editorial, both sides of the viewpoints, we balance it and form an unbiased and well-rounded view of something, right? Now with this, third very important point that we need to understand is keep pen and a notebook while you're reading newspaper. Let me tell you why. Because we often come across such structures or sentences of article that we might want to note down. And trust me, it will be helpful in different ways in futures, or even some of the happenings or current affairs related news. We might want to note it down because in a couple of days, we just forget what we read in the newspaper, right? So maybe you can underline that with a pen and then note it down in the notebook, or you can concomitantly do that, like reading newspaper and keeping a notebook, noting it down. So whatever suits you. But it will help you in different ways in future if you note it down. Now with this, a very common question that I feel is there among those who read newspapers, that do I really need to pay attention to the vocabulary? Trust me, you don't need to. Let me tell you why. Because like fiction, like any other book, newspapers also has a certain set of vocabulary. For example, let me tell you, some of the words like bolster, prejudicial, and some of the words that you must be knowing is frequently used in newspaper. I came across those kind of words, and after a period of time, I happened to use those words correctly in the sentences without even bothering to know much about what exactly is the meaning. So that's about it. That is how you learn. That is how you learn vocabulary. That is how you learn the meaning of it. Because after a certain period of time, you get used to or accustomed to using certain words, and that too correctly in a sentence. You do not actually need to bother much about finding the meaning of it and then correctly placing it in a sentence, whether it suits or not. It just gradually happens. So that's about it. Now summing up, first, filter it out. Second, read the editorial page. But while you read it, make sure that you flush out all those indoctrinated viewpoints that we have and form an unbiased, well-rounded viewpoint. Third, keep pen or a notebook with yourself. Note down any beautiful structure, sentence of article, or any important current affair that you come across so that it helps you in different ways. And also, since you're not able to memorize all of those things that you come across, it's better to note it down. And last but not the least, you don't need to bother much about vocabulary because you're anyway gonna learn it. With this, I really hope that this video was helpful to you and will help you in some way or the other, especially when you read newspaper. And if it was, then please like, share and hit the subscribe button. I'll be back with another video shortly. Thank you.